society around us discovers that same humanity. When we open ourselves to the community that is here, in all its richness and diversity, people who may have habits and preferences and choices that we may agree with or disagree with, but who are part of our common humanity. When we open ourselves to that, we will discover a community that enriches all of Vancouver, all of Canada, and of which we are a part, whether we like it or not. There's no question that we need the full range of support and services across the 4 pillars and every other piece that's necessary, but there's fundamentally cannot be a question that deep at the heart of it, at the start of it, at the core of it, there's a need for us to provide a space where people can be safe and can be avoiding the kind of harm that they would encounter somewhere else. It is a moral issue that we need to take seriously and not walk away from. We who are here, those who are out there, those who have decision-making ability, would open their hearts, not their intellectual ability to argue one way or the other, not adopting positions, but simply understanding that behind the statistics, it is about our common humanity and our common compassion. And so in the silence, we remember those who have died in the downtown East Side. Those who have died for many different reasons, but who at the heart of their pain so often have found alienation and aloneness and rejection. But we also remember the joy and the hope and the life and the rich community that is here. We give thanks for the many lives that have been saved through the work already done through Insite, and it is our deepest prayer that that work may be continued and expanded in this city and elsewhere.
The fight for Insite began in a political, rhetorical atmosphere of depraved indifference regarding overdose deaths and pandemic emergencies. Horrifying ghosts of human beings calling radio talk shows and actually telling me, why don't they just string barbed wire around the downtown East Side and let them infect each other to death? Or the only good junkie is a dead junkie. Comments like those heard in Nazi Germany. I remember one welfare week 11 years ago. Sirens screamed, lights flashed red and white all day, all night. One hot afternoon that same week, I met a friend of mine on the corner of Cordova and Main, a First Nations woman and activist who told me when I asked how she was, that her family was gathering to make another critical decision. Her cousin had fixed a loan Wednesday evening in an SRO room, and when her husband returned, found her dead on the floor. So he made a noose with a long piece of cloth and hanged himself. He soon was dead. And because the couple had an infant son, the family was gathering to determine the best disposition for the suddenly orphaned child. And this entire unjust and tragic situation might well never have happened if Insite was open. But as my friend and I were saying goodbye, a flame burst inside me, fueled by grief and rage, like a fierce spontaneous combustion flashing up through my nervous system and roared in my head like a psychic explosion. Because of another, because of too many, because of an unnecessary overdose death. 2 words repetitively yelled in my brain, no more, no more, no more, of this heartbreaking, family-shattering, community-diminishing pain of overdose deaths. I immediately ran from that conversation to see Mark and Liz and Kirsten at the Old Portland Hotel, and with Dave Dewart, Ann Livingston, and several others planned a day of action. We pounded 1,000 crosses into Oppenheimer Park, blocked Main and Hastings with a heavy chain, and distributed statistics of misery to commuters unable to get to work. 1,000 crosses memorializing just 3 years of overdose deaths. A cross is a symbol of political execution. A cross is a symbol for social revolution. And from that afternoon, the battle to save lives was declared. And from that afternoon to Insite's opening, we've never ceased in our efforts to save lives and bring peace against the war on drug addicts, war on the truth, war on the most physically and mentally vulnerable human beings in our courageous community. And because we wrote, and because we spoke, and because we protested, and because we created an immensely successful injection site alternative, we achieved a facility unique in our history, a beacon of hope for others beaten crazy in drug war corrupted North America. We began to transform that death-dealing rhetoric with a space made for dignity, life, and community. We made out of no way a way for real care to take place. The word vigil to me means bearing witness to our own powerful history of resistance, means bearing witness to all those we've known who've passed, not as losers but as transcendent martyrs, still bearing witness to our common efforts, keeping vigilance upon our accomplishments, our revolution in consciousness. Now Insite is again under siege with federal government DEA conspiracies. So this prayer for a place that really saves lives, this prayer for the means and strength to defend, to protect, to sustain, with whatever it takes, a most beautiful concrete expression of care for us all. A prayer for those who gave their lives for this. A prayer that those hearts hardened against us relent and approve. A prayer for those blinded by fear and their own vested interests, that they may see Insite as their beginning of hope, not only for those who need it most, but because everyone suffers when compassion is undone.